Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Sunday morning conversation. So today my guest is Jan Stepinski, and I'm giving you this bonus episode because I had been chatting with Jan for several months, kind of playing tag, and I didn't think this episode ever was going to happen, and I really wanted it to happen because he is a great age grouper. He's actually the reigning champion at this year's Ironman 70.3 Worlds in St. George. He won, and he won convincingly. He went 352. So, that's like middle of the pack pro material. He is, and he did I think it was 828 at Ironman Arizona this year, which is, again, middle of the pack, good pro. And, he's doing this, working a full-time job. And it's amazing what I really wanted to get this, and I wasn't going to stop until I did. And I think, he's really cool, and we have a great conversation. I hope you enjoy it. And if you ever see him in a race, he's going to blow by you on his diamond. It's a really pretty bike, and it's a fast bike. And I really want the bike he has. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the bonus episode. Come on, give me the hella.
What up, Eric?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Could be better today, but not too bad yet.
You just got out of the pool, man. Like your hair is still coordinated.
Honestly, it's just like that permanently. I'm going to go swimming after our after our chat, but it's probably just like this permanently now.
Yeah, mine's the same way. I just cut it all off. Like
I used to do that. Huh? I used to just have a permanent buzz cut and get it like once every 2 weeks.
Oh, I don't even do it that long. I wait like 10 weeks and I grow an afro and I just got to cut it off. It's really thick.
So, man, not very aerodynamic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like it when it goes crazy, and yeah, I'll get a haircut for a key race.
Yeah, I do it right before a race too. I just let it go, do whatever it wants. So speaking of racing, dude, I remember a while back I looked you up and I'm like, he just appeared one day and was good. How did you get to that point?
I mean, I didn't just appear one day, really. Like, I think I did my first race in Santa Cruz in 2017, and I was pretty far back.
It said what, 416?
Sorry?
It said like 416.
That's because the swim was cut in half.
Oh.
It was a 10-minute swim.
Then, all right.
I guess that is still relatively good. I
still put you at 431.
Yeah, I suppose that's relatively good. I honestly don't know how I did that well in that first race because I honestly didn't even train too much for it. I mean, I biked to work every day, which was a 6-mile ride each way. I swam like 2 or 3 times a week at the lap pool, and I ran like once before. I didn't even have a GPS watch, and honestly, I would like tell myself that, oh, this is a 4-mile loop, even though it was only 3.5 miles, and I would pretend like, oh, I'm actually running 6-minute mile pace, which probably gave me a bit of confidence in retrospect, so it's not all bad. But yeah, pushed myself through that first race, and I felt I could still do better, so kept going. I mean, yeah, going into that first race unprepared, I puked at the finish line, almost got heat stroke. I remember texting my friends later that day and being like, guys, check in on me in a few hours because I'm laying on the floor talking to myself and like sweating. Make sure that I'm not dead.
You didn't put any effort in. Of course you could do better.
So yeah, I don't know where that came from, honestly. Probably have some genetics to help with that.
Well, what made you want to do this? I mean, did you have any kind of background in swimming, cycling, or running?
Well, swimming, yeah. I swam in high school. So I guess I have that muscle memory from learning to swim as a little kid and then continuing it through high school to a somewhat high level. I ended up qualifying for states in the 100 breaststroke my sophomore year. got like second to last place at states. Maybe it was even last place. I don't remember. It's pretty fun to be in the back.
So that's like a double low, basically a minute flat breaststroke. That's what it gets you in Ohio back in the day.
It was 103 for me.
Oh,
that was my best. That's why it was last place.
I mean, because you're coming out of the water, first in the age groupers these days. So, you're not that bad anymore.
Yeah, I didn't really swim distance free as a kid through high school. Actually, my dad forbid me from doing the 1,000 or the 1650 because he thought it was unhealthy for like anyone, I guess, under 20 to be doing it. So I always wanted to try it when I got older. And yeah, that's how I guess I got back into swimming when I went to grad school here at Stanford. I skipped a lecture once because the pools were so beautiful. And I just went and swam the Ironman distance continuously like twice a week because I someday wanted to do an Ironman.
Okay, so your training has evolved since then, right? Did you get yourself a coach?
Yeah. I got a coach after I signed up for my first Ironman in 2018. Actually, I joined the Stanford Masters team to swim. And I think that helped me improve a lot over just lap swimming because I assure you, I would not be swimming this well just off of 2 or 3 lap swims a week. And yeah, she helped me kind of just get through that first Ironman because we only had like 2 months really to prepare for it. I guess signing up for that first one, I was like, oh, I'm a pretty fit guy. I bike to work, I swim, I can do some like CrossFit in the gym. I didn't really think that an Ironman would be that hard. It turned out it's bloody hard. It's a lot of pain. So yeah, that coach kind of guided me to do it a little bit more properly that first time. And the second time, that was Gina Kerr. And she still guided me to win my first Ironman in 2019. But then she went to work for UCSF as a full-time coach for their triathlon team. So I've been working with Liza Rochetto since then. And yeah, clearly something about what she's doing with me works because I've had pretty good results this year. Can't complain.
Yeah.
Other than about my own mistakes and
I mean, you just did Arizona in 8:28. Was that course shortened or anything, or that was legit?
No, it was legit. I mean, the swim there is the same every year, and it's a pure swim because it's lake, it's the full distance, there aren't any currents. It's not even that choppy in the morning, so I think it's one of the best. It's like a classic Ironman swim, and there's no like exit midway through to complicate things. You just freaking go. The bike was actually, according to my computer, 1/2 mile long. And maybe the run was like 0.1 miles short, but I'm not sure because my GPS watch didn't kick in until after I got out of transition.
Okay, but 8:28 is really fast for an age grouper. You could probably easily win Kona in age groupers.
Oh, it's not that easy. Kona is another beast entirely, man. Have you ever been?
No, I'm not that good.
You're from Atlanta, though. You have very similar conditions there, right? It's very hot and humid in the southeast. And
in Kona, you got that. You still have that Pacific water, breeze coming off the water. Here, you're inland. There's in July and August, it's like living under Satan's taint. It's horrible. Riding outdoors those days.
You might be even better prepared for Kona than me.
Other than the fact that I can't go, I can't go 9 hours. At best, I'm like maybe a 10.
Not with that attitude.
No.
Yeah, I legit going into my first Ironman, I had no idea like what times I could even do. I hadn't really, done any practice.
Oh, I've done 3 of them.
Runs or anything, right? But it's like you gotta believe a little bit. I'm not gonna say that believing is gonna get you all the way, but
no,
I always kind of aim to go faster than I really do.
I mean, you've had a pretty successful run in a short time. I mean, even with a throwaway year like last year, you you've been kind of killing it, and like you won 70.3 worlds this year by a few minutes
Yeah, that
too.
was pretty crazy. That was pretty crazy. I still ran that race through a calf injury. I've been nursing since April, so I wasn't sure if I could handle that course. I mean, if you saw at least the course maps, it was pretty wild on the run, because it was like hills the whole way, no flat section at all, and like yeah, go for 2 miles up like a 2% kind of falls flat grade, and then like half a mile up the wall along these rolling hills, and then I waddled down like a 12% pitch for half a mile. Like some guys can run down that thing, not me. So I was pretty surprised at how well I ended up.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah,
you were killing it. You know, and your bike was fast. You've got a really, you have the bike that I'm in love with. I've always wanted that one, the Marquis.
it's a beautiful, brilliant bike, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to ride it. I mean, I'm not sponsored by them, but they did give me a discount over their listed price after I did pretty well at Ironman Arizona. Oh yeah, because I won Ironman Arizona in 2019. So after that, they gave me a pretty good deal on the bike.
Well, at about half the price, quarter of the price.
Somewhere around there.
You weren't the only person that they did that to. I got a friend down here in Atlanta, Brazilian guy named Tiago Bianchini. He won Ironman Chattanooga in either 2018 or 2019, and they made him the same offer.
Okay, so I'm not that special.
But he's broke.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't an easy decision for me either, but basically the bike I'd been riding up until then was an old Shiv I'd gotten off of eBay, and it had a cracked seat post tube, and the headset was like super wobbly, and the rear chainstay also had a crack that I'd had patched up, so I was already kind of like not happy with that
you were
bike.
riding a complete piece of shit.
Not a shit. Like ultimately, okay, these are defects, but I was already kind of in the market looking for a new bike.
How much did you pay for that shit, huh?
Well, that was like $900 on eBay.
It's a piece of shit.
I mean, the cracks showed up after I started riding it, so I'm not saying I got it like that, but
all right.
yeah, I mean, the Shiv is also a great bike. Like I won't diss it. Like all the integrated stuff is fine. It's great actually. But yeah, just my particular model started getting really shitty toward 2019. So yeah, I was looking for a new bike, and when they actually gave me such a deal on such a beautiful freaking bike,
the paint job's nice too.
I gave in.
Should have got the airbrush, man. Get something, you know, I don't know what you like that you would get airbrushed on there, like a skull breathing flames. I don't know. Something.
See, this is how cheap I am though. It's like the airbrushing or like getting any personal things would have cost like another $200 or $300, and I was like,
oh my god, that's nothing.
It's not nothing. It's like, yeah, on the scale of the price of the bike, it seems like a small percentage, but objectively $200 is not nothing.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've spent $200 on dumber things.
I mean, I probably have as well, but I try to only spend money on what I think is really necessary. And I was like, I'll just get it. Like they let you choose what paint you want, so I just chose cool paint.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. You know, and you got a decent wheel set with it too. You didn't go with theirs.
No, well, see, that's the one I've been riding on. That's from my Shiv. That's the one I've had. Yeah, not from the very beginning, but when in like late 2018, early 2019, felt like I really want to continue doing this, and to do that, I can invest in some better resources. So it seemed like a worthy investment.
It is, and I mean, you know, I obviously you put online that your parents don't exactly agree with your decision to continue to go with this. Like, did you ever tell them like, hey, I can go pro and actually make a little bit of coin out of this, or you know?
Well, can I make a little bit of coin out of it? That would make my mom support it, no doubt. But
Your dad's a hard
how much
sell.
how much coin is there really in it? Like even as a pro, if I could get 10th place in some Ironman, I'd get like $1,000, which would probably cover the travel expense. Yeah,
Well,
that would that would help, but it's not enough to
well,
really make that a sustainable career. So yeah, I'm thinking about it. Going back to Kona actually, which you asked about earlier, like I did it once in 2019 and it was fun, but I suffered a lot and not in the good way. Like I walked most of that marathon. I got so dehydrated on the bike that I just had nothing left for the most important one, arguably the most important part of the race. So I want to go back now that I have some more experience and I know a little bit more about how my body reacts to those conditions.
are you
And
going to race it at St. George too? Are you got both worlds?
yeah, I'll do both next year. St. George in May and then Kona in October. And yeah, it's like I want to stay as amateur at least through next year so that I can do Kona because it's gonna be bloody difficult to qualify for Kona as a pro. Uh, and yeah, if I do well enough, then yeah, I'll maybe try going pro and qualifying that way, or I'll give up on Kona and just race as a pro in races that suit me better. No,
Yeah.
we'll see. I also have this year to like figure out whether I can make it work financially. Because if I do go pro, I kind of want to be able to do more to like really step up to the next level. At the moment, like I'm pretty much maxing out my time training, so I'd have to maybe work part-time. Yeah, see if I can make that work financially and with my projects at work.
Now, you're an engineer,
There's,
right?
yeah, I'm a code monkey, but yeah, they call me an engineer.
Okay. Oh, don't worry. Architects were called CAD bitch or Revit bitch or Revit monkey. Whatever. Same thing.
Yeah,
It's not an illustrious thing. What made you get into that? Like, were you? I don't know. You have a lot of exposure to it when you were younger.
oh, that's an interesting question. I guess that's a little bit more existential because actually, when I was like in high school, I was way more interested in humanities. Like most of what I was studying then when they gave us electives was like literature and Latin and poetry. um, then in college, I went to a college starting out in economics, but everyone else was doing engineering. So I switched over to engineering too.
Who's everyone else?
It was a school focused on engineering, and I did have some personal motivation in that too because yeah, I've always been kind of like a nature lover. Like I love being outdoors, and I spent my childhood camping a lot. So I kind of had this vision of being able to protect nature by being an environmental engineer. So that's kind of the path I took in college, but turns out that's not really what environmental engineers do, at least on the level that I saw it at that school. It's a lot of studying regulations just to help companies pollute as much as possible. And I got kind of disillusioned with that. But in the whole engineering study track, I discovered that I'm pretty good at math and coding. Like I'm good at following those rules. So I pursued that in grad school. I just did my master's degree in applied math.
So Stanford for grad school. Which was the undergrad school?
Shitty College of New York. I joke. It's called City College of New York. But
Okay.
play on
That's still in New York, like New York City.
yeah. In Harlem.
Okay. So did you like go? You said you grew up in Brooklyn. Did you just take the subway every day, or did you move up there?
No, I took the subway every day from Brooklyn. 3 subways, a bit over an hour commute,
I
which
was
is
gonna say
actually
I've done it before. That's like an hour.
that's a great commute because if you're coming from like lower Brooklyn, closer to Coney Island, that's 2 hours. So I had it easy.
And you wouldn't go back and forth in between classes. You stay up there all day.
Yeah. I lived at home with my parents, but I spent most of my life at the school.
Okay.
At one point, I started working as like an assistant to one of my economics professors because I said I started out in economics and I got at a little office there. So I spent a lot of time in that office. Later joined a lab for the environmental engineering program. So I spent a lot of time in the lab. Didn't spend any time swimming, biking, or running. Sometimes instead of taking that third subway home, I would walk over the bridge. Well, not the bridge over the East River, just like a local bridge over the canal between Queens and Brooklyn. But
Okay. Now,
that was
I,
about it.
I've caught you twice saying bloody. You said you say hella now. Where did the bloody come from? You're not British.
I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure.
You don't say that in the States, and Polish people don't say that, do they?
No, yes, I'm a mess. I spent like 3 months in Australia after grad school, just backpacking. So I picked up saying mate a lot there, and maybe bloody as well.
You're a
Yeah, I
regular
started saying it
hodgepodge
after.
and smorgasbord of everything.
Yeah, that's what you get when you go all over the place. In a way, that's, yeah, I guess it's all right because you get to experience a lot of things. In college, I will say that, yeah, I also took like classes all over the place. Environmental engineering, yeah, was my major, but I took classes from mechanical and electrical and everything. So I ended up not really specializing in anything. Um, that kind of ties in with triathlon too. We don't really specialize in any of the sports. We're just a mix of different things.
You know,
But yeah, I
oh
can't
man,
really say exactly where the bloody entered my vocabulary.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely you've got your regular hodgepodge of different.
Experiences. I don't know.
Yeah, that's I will use that word. Yeah, and I mean, you you've done pretty good, right? Almost right off the bat with your first race. You said it's kind of self-admitted. Like I didn't really put a lot of effort into this. I thought I'm in good shape, and once you started putting a little effort into it, you got good quick, and you were winning races. And they were. It's not like you started off small on the ITU stuff and the short and sprints and Olympics. You went after the longer stuff right away. You just kind of popped up on the scene. And I mean,
Yeah.
I had noticed your name for a while on the Ironman app. I'm like, this guy keeps
No,
seeing him and everything.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be interesting to hear a scientific explanation for that maybe, but I honestly don't know because yeah, I went into that first race just thinking that since I'm pretty fit overall, I can probably handle a half Ironman, and I just always wanted to do an Ironman, so figured I'd start with a half just to keep it easy. I don't think I was even aware of like Olympic distance and sprint distance races at the time. Like it was just gonna be something I'm doing once, and I just want to do an Ironman type of thing.
I
Only
saw
after
your
that did I start learning about triathlon and yeah, all the different distances and drafting versus non-drafting and all the tactics and stuff.
I saw your video after the Arizona race at the finish line. You look like you were hurting.
No, that was a tough race. I cramped 2 miles into the marathon in Arizona. Probably started on the bike. Dropped one of my bottles. I did have backup salt, but probably missed a bit. So I was already running low on it, getting off. It was also my first time in my super aggressive aero position that worked out really well this year in the halves. But my gosh, does that catch up to, 3.5, 4 hours into a race, just being super tight and not enough neuromuscular adaptation, I think. So yeah, got off the bike and immediately felt something was wrong. Cramped 2 miles in, stood there for 5 minutes at that aid station. It was crazy because all the volunteers stopped cheering. They're just like, oh shit, this guy is like dead. And my very first Ironman, I had also cramped at exactly the 2 mile marker. So here I am, 3 years later, 3.5, and when I'm back at square zero. And yeah, ate a bunch of the salt pills that I had in my belt, drank some Gatorade and said, no freaking way am I back at square one, started running again. And 11 miles showed up on my, or 11 minutes showed up for that mile on my watch. I was like, fuck. But then it was 7 minutes on the next mile and 6 minutes and change on the next one after that. And it came back to life, but it was a difficult run.
Do you only drive to your races? Do you fly or you just?
No. I bought my first car last year, actually, my first car ever, because as I said, I used to bike to work. I biked to the store. That was kind of my biking before that. Not all of my biking, but yeah.
You had to learn how to drive at that point too, or did you have your license earlier?
I had a license. I got my license back in New York City, but you are correct that I wasn't super experienced.
You have any accidents yet? You hit anything?
I have not on the road, but parking is my nemesis.
Okay. What kind
I
of
may
car
or
did
may
you get?
not, in the past, I may or may not have scratched a few rental cars parking.
Okay, so you did fly and you got rentals before, right?
But yeah, it's like I drove to Arizona because yeah, I have the car now, and ultimately it's still just a 1-day drive, so you can bring way more stuff with you, and it's way more comfortable than going on a plane. Just being so cramped, even in the car, you can stretch out more than in the freaking plane. You don't have to worry about your bike getting lost somewhere. But yeah, I've flown. I went to the half world championships in Nice in 2019. That was a long flight. Been to Kona.
You won that one too, didn't you?
Nice? No.
Yeah.
Nice, I was like, I don't know, 30th in my age group, 100th overall.
Huh?
I don't know. That was still wasn't quite there yet.
Okay.
Yeah, and I flew to Florida this year. That was an exciting race. I saw that you did the Gulf Coast half a couple of times.
Yeah, it's about a 5-hour drive from Atlanta.
Yeah,
I did it.
easy.
So it got split in between when I got hit by a car. In 2017 I did it, and it's like that was the year the swim got canceled. I was still in really good shape then, and then 2018 I had got hit in previous October, like 10 days after Chattanooga, and
Right.
I still wasn't all back together then. I could perform, but I wasn't as good, and mentally I was not there yet. Yeah, it scared the crap out of me on the bike because you're riding on the highway and it's not a closed course, so cars are going past you 60 miles an hour.
Right. Well, for me this year, well, you're right. So yeah, it's like 3 lanes in each direction or 2. Jeez, no, I
Two.
can't remember. It's only 2, right? So they only close the 1 lane for us. Then they have cars going in the middle lane.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
when
it's freaky.
you're a little gunshot, and I still had the PTSD issues then, so it was a little gunshot, and it would just make me shake.
I almost got hit by a car in this race on my way back into town because I was the first biker, and I don't think they had like fully organized the road closure on whatever that main street going along the coast is, those last 5 miles through town. And like I had a police car way ahead, clearing the road, but some of the drivers like didn't know what the hell was going on. So one of them, instead of like going left, actually pulls right into the freaking bike lane, and I have to like swerve left to get around him.
That just happened this weekend too to Vincent Luis. He got hit.
Right, he got taken off course entirely. Like I didn't get taken off course, thankfully, but just like drivers have no idea what's happening. So I guess it's their instinct to even go onto the right into the freaking bike lane.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's crazy, and I can really see how that's a problem for people like you who are out there in front and that they're not closing out roads yet. It's different when they're letting people through and they see a gap, but yeah, that's.
And you have my sympathies with the PTSD a lot. I got hit by a car 2 years ago, and it only broke my wrist, my scaphoid. I got hit by a car earlier this year too, and came out of that mostly unscathed. I had a mild concussion, but it was only like 2 days, and I was fine.
On your diamond, huh?
No, thankfully I was on my road bike. Like, my gosh, I would not like the diamonds to be involved in something like this.
Yeah. I mean, the only
Um,
broken bone I had was one of my fingers. I don't even remember which one, but I got a traumatic brain injury out of it.
yeah, so that's way worse. I can't imagine going through that. And because it's like, even after my fairly mild incidents, like, I say fairly mild, I mean, it wasn't really fun having a broken thumb for over a month. Um, but yeah, then it was like freaky to go back outside and
Yeah, when you're riding
you're
in
next to
like a
all the
really aero
cars.
position and you're like going past, cars are going past you that hard fast. I had like a death grip on the aero bars where if I would have turned, I could have ripped them off the stem, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, do you feel better about that now? I find that, like, yeah, for me, it took like a couple of months to like really forget about my incidents.
Yeah,
So for you,
it's
it's
taken a
probably
lot of
been
time.
longer.
Taking a lot of time. But yeah, I mean, I stick to mostly, for my races, I'm in the Southeast
Yeah.
or the Midwest because my family's from Ohio and I have a whole bunch of friends in the area. So, I'll drive up there, spend a day, and then I'll go over to do Steelhead in Michigan or something like that. It's where
Yeah.
I have a place where I can crash for a little while. But
That's how we save money for racing, and it's cool to meet up with old friends.
well, that and so I play credit card roulette pretty well. When I was a consultant in architecture, I traveled a lot. So if you go through credit cards, you can burn through everyone that offers you rewards all the time and just rack up sky miles or hotel points. I have like
I have to learn
500,000
this
Hilton
power.
Honors hotel points. I can get like a good 15 free nights out of that.
I have to learn this power, man. That's because that's honestly one of the most prohibitive costs about triathlon. Well, other than the damn entry fee, but yeah, it's travel, lodging, and possibly rental car if you're going somewhere far.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
like,
you can,
I'll give you an example, right? Um, Hilton Honors, like their basic card, the one with no annual fee, they'll give you like 80,000 points if you spend $1,000 in the first 3 months, right? And there's no annual fee. So you sign up for it, you spend your $1,000, you take your 80,000 points, which is good for minimum 2 nights at like a Hampton Inn, right?
uh,
Okay, easy. Then you bump up to their Surpass card, which is a $95 annual fee. Then it's like, okay, you have to spend $3,000 in 3 months. Okay, that's really not that hard to do. And then you get like 120,000 points, which is roughly 3 nights or 4 nights at an average hotel, like at a race place. Okay. And then I just, they'll pitch me offers like in resort stays, like this one in Vegas. I'm like, I can find a race near Vegas, or
St.
something.
George's near Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just kind of do it off that. And everybody else has credit cards and stuff that have similar offers. And then, the ones with the annual fee, you just cancel it at the end of the year so you don't get charged for the second year. So you just kind of go through them like that.
That's a cool strat. I'll have to figure that out
Yeah.
myself. But
So
thanks.
and then, or hotels.com even has one, right? Where you get 2 free nights if you spend $1,000 in the first 3 months. Well, that's easy.
Yeah, especially for triathlon. Like, as much of a budget as we try to stick to, then the cost that up.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of like, extreme budgeting. It's like, okay, how can I get away with this? But, yeah, it's one of those things that I picked up over time. But, and then I got used to Hilton hotels, which is like a little bit better than your average hotel. And my former friends kind of made us, whenever we went to races together, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna stay at a Hampton Inn." It's like, well, I got used to staying at better hotels. It's like when I went to Challenge Miami or Clash Miami with my friend, we stayed at a Super 8 in a sketchy. I'm like, man, I used to do this on a regular basis, and now I got too spoiled.
Yeah, I've gotten used to staying at Airbnbs or with friends whenever I go race.
Yeah.
So because I kind of like having a kitchen where I can make my own food. It's pretty comfortable, especially before a race where you kind of want to be more precise with your diet. But
Yeah.
yeah, like 2 years ago, I went out with my friend to support him at Ironman Indian Wells, and yeah, we just stayed at, I forget, but like a Super 8 and one of those regular motels.
Making your
I
own
was
food
like,
nice. I remember my first Ironman full distance race. I ate leftover chicken wings from BW3s for breakfast.
like the day of the race.
Yeah, the morning of the race, and I was still
Really?
drunk. I woke up still drunk. So
Okay.
I used to drink a lot.
I mean, that's like a legitimate strategy, right? That's what those Tara Kumara guys in the Born to Run used to do, like get super wasted the day before one of their big super marathons, and then they would just
you know,
treat that as carbo loading and go crazy the next day.
I was still drunk until about halfway through the bike.
That's a wild experience.
It was, but you know what's even make it wilder, right? I came out of the water. This was my first race, and it was not like an iron. It was a Rev 3 race at the time, so it wasn't big race. There was only maybe 150 people in the full, and it happened to be where I was still in really good swim shape. And I came out of the water like 10 seconds behind the guy, but I came out of transition in the lead, and I had this is a new experience for me, right? I'm looking around like a deer in the headlights, and I asked the volunteer, I'm like, what do I do? He's like, follow the guy on the motorcycle. I'm like, okay. And I had the lead for like 15 miles, and that was it. I'm like, okay, everybody just passed me from then on.
Yeah, I've been there in my first Ironman. I came out of the water and was first, and then got passed very quickly later on. But yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because very often when you like read forums for beginner triathletes or like articles with advice, I was like, oh yeah, just follow the person ahead of you. What if you are the person
Yeah.
at the front? What do you do then? You can't follow the person ahead of you. Like what? Where do I
Yeah.
go?
And but man, that first Ironman, when I got to the run and I got into the hangover phase, it's like, oh, I want to die.
I mean,
I wish hair of the dog, right?
impressed
I
that
wish I
you
would have
got
packed
that
like
far.
a flask in transition just to got through that.
That's impressive that you got that far. I did a beer mile once, and that was.
It's a dubious honor, man. It's not one of those things I'm particularly proud about. I don't bring it up that often.
You got a good story and a good experience out of it. That's
but it gets better, right? Because it's at Cedar Point, which is, I don't know if you know, have you ever been to an amusement park?
Yeah, like Six Flags in New Jersey.
Okay, so Cedar Point is the roller coaster capital of the world.
Ah.
It is an experience that if you love roller coasters, you have to go here. Anyway, back at that time, when you entered the race, they gave you a couple free tickets to go to the park during the race for anybody who came. So I had friends who came up, and I said, here's tickets. They got to spend 5 hours at the roller coaster capital of the world while I'm on the, ride my bike. They're out there riding roller coasters where there's no lines or anything. So they had the time of their life, and then they're cheering me on, like, oh man, that was great. I'm like, I'm dying. Not only am I dehydrated, but my head is killing me,
Yeah, that's part of the dehydration. What, did you go on the roller coaster then for your cool down?
Oh no, man. I sat on the boat ramp and laying on my back in the cold water. I'm like, oh, thank you. And it was so strange because like a storm had rolled through the night before, and the Great Lakes are doing a race in the Great Lakes is kind of like being in the ocean. It's that big of a body of water. You get those same kind of big waves and everything. And when they were laying out the swim course, they capsized a boat and it sank. And it's like, oh, this is going to be a hard day.
Yeah, I've never been to the Great Lakes, but
I would have liked.
I heard that, but I didn't know they were as big as ocean waves.
Yeah, I mean, you can't see across to the other side.
Huh.
So and they're usually cold, very cold. You're on the Pacific, so that's cold, but it can get pretty cold on the Great Lakes, except for Lake Erie, the one that I swam in. Actually, I got Michigan too, but Lake Erie is the shallowest of the lake. It's like max of like 200 feet deep, so it stays the warmest. And but it was still pretty cold that day. It was still like wear a thicker wetsuit day.
Well, that's quite a freaking triathlon to do, freaking half drunk and then hungover in the second half.
Yeah,
and I'm guessing the hangover from that was was even worse.
Yeah, it has been, but I don't know. I mean, I used to be we used to go out to breweries and wineries and all the stuff the day before the race, and I always used to do that and I had a good time. You
You
know,
do that the
after
day
the,
after the race. You gotta switch the order.
yeah, well, I don't drink anymore. My neurologist said after the accident, she's like, you can't do this anymore. I'm like, okay, fine. So yeah, and it was weird, like because 2020 was like the first, or no, this past season was like the first year where I was actually sober the day before. I didn't drink it all the day before a race. It's like, this is definitely different. So
Now you're suddenly aware of all the chaos that's happening around you.
yeah, so man,
And it's like, oh no, shut it down again.
yeah, so man, pro card is in your future possibly. What do you? I mean, other than like
Yeah, I
racing
think
3 different championships next year, what do you got?
I did sign up for the Oceanside half. That's in April.
I wanted to do that, but I couldn't get a hotel that was cheap.
I haven't even looked at lodging yet. So thanks for the heads up.
It's funny because I know a guy who lives in the San Diego area. He says, well, next year if you want to come, you can crash on my couch. I'm like, okay. So I'll do it not next year, 2023.
Yeah, it'll be my first time doing it. But yeah, it could also be an opportunity for me to kind of explore Southern California, where I've only really driven through at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it actually brings out some pretty good competition for you too.
Oh, dude, yeah. This is like another reason that I haven't even like a good reason to become pro is to like race against better people because it's by racing better people that you yourself get faster. Like they push you to become better, but like I'm still being pushed to my limits by everyone in my age group and in the other age groups too, right? Like,
Yeah, I don't know,
I
man.
mean, there's
I
there's
just
some
get
really
ahead on
fast
the swim and
guys
they all
here.
pass me. That's it. That's how my day goes. I get ahead on the swim and just pass. I'm like, oh, this is a miserable day.
You gotta choose one of them and make them your enemy and hunt them down.
I do. I usually have friends that come to races, and my goal is to talk as much shit as possible because that's the most appropriate thing to do. Talk as much shit and make them come get you. So then I'll ride as hard as I can on the bike and make it as hard as them to kind of to blow all their energy trying to chase me down.
That's the way. That's gonna be my strat in Oceanside and St. George and Kona and whatever.
Yeah.
Make them chase me down. No, I mean we'll see how it plays out. I've met a lot of these guys. We all race, similar events here in California and like St. George. The guys from the team Everyman Jack, like Justin Riel and Devin Volk and
You gotta have
Andrew
a strong
Hall.
jaw. You gotta have a strong jawline to be on that team, man. That really defined jaw. Yeah. But yeah, those dudes are
I
fast.
don't have the hair for it, I wouldn't really be good
No, you
marketing.
don't. You got the surfer hair. You can be on the regular social media. You fit on that one, not on the actual Tri team one. Have you ever considered joining a team like that?
Well, I've considered. I've kind of decided not to because I kind of see me not getting enough out of it. Like you pay the team dues and you have the obligations to like do their social marketing and whatever. And what do I get out of it? You get the camaraderie, sure, but like anything tangible, not really. I don't need their equipment. I don't need, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you get a bunch
I
of
don't need the
deodorant, body
discounts
wash,
that they're
shampoo,
offering.
like that.
Sorry?
You get a bunch of deodorant, body wash, shampoo.
That's not worth the
Yeah.
costs of these obligations and even just like the cost of joining to me. But yeah, it's kind of like too much of like social marketing and like large group interactions stress me the hell out.
Yeah,
So
dude,
I
you're
don't need
very
that
low
getting
key. You
in.
got like 150 followers, where it's like, oh man,
Well, that's I'm not good at this.
you like
But
to stay off the radar.
I don't know. That's just how I am. I'm happy that guys like you have found me and are willing to listen to what I have to say and
Oh,
just
dude,
chat with you.
I love it. I love seeing interesting people. I do think you're interesting. And it's, you know, part of the reason why I want to talk to you is get more of the story behind it.
Well, thank you. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty happy to share whatever. I'm just not good at marketing, if you will. I don't know. Yeah, it also, I guess, just kind of stresses me out to maintain a public image or something along those
Yeah, and
lines.
it's kind of like you get that pressure to always be posting and stuff, and it
Most of the time, I get this voice saying like, "Why would I post anything? Who cares?" Like, "Oh, I went out for a training ride." Yeah, everyone went out for a training ride. Big deal.
I've got a friend here who like he lives on social media, and he's it's you always see him. He's like every morning he's at the pool, and there's a GoPro video of that. It's like I don't know if I could ever do that. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't mind designing a few posts because in Photoshop because that's what I as an architect I use that, but I don't do that like regularly. It's just too much work.
It is. Yeah, got limited bandwidth in this brain of mine. I'm
Yeah.
sure we all do, right? I don't know, multitasking. I guess some people are like really good at it, but
To work in Silicon Valley, you got to have more bandwidth than most people.
uh, maybe, I don't know. Doesn't feel like it to me, honestly. Yeah, one of the things that I could really improve with my training and lifestyle in the future is just actually being able to organize what's happening in my brain more clearly, just be smoother at work, kind of like in triathlon. There's no cramming, there's no crunch time in triathlon, really. You got to be doing it consistently. But in software, there is very often a period where no matter how much you did in the final week of before a deadline, they're going to want you to work overtime.
You have to pull any all-nighters for work?
Not in the past 2 years, but I've come close. It's like, so in crunch time, you get like, yeah, 3-4 hours of sleep.
I've done several all-nighters before when I used to work as an architect. When your deadlines come up, it's like you got to keep working till it's done. And
I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah. I did a lot of all-nighters throughout my studies in college and grad school, and I don't know, it's pain, but not in the same way as like an Ironman, where Ironman triathlon kind of pain is the pain of satisfaction of having achieved something. The pain of doing an all-nighter or two of them or three in a row is like, it's like you're dying.
I think the most I had to do was 5, but
I mean, you kind of start disassociating from the real world and just kind of
oh, you kidding me? About after
going
30,
through it like through a gel.
yeah, after 36 hours, you really get that like those anything scares the crap out of you at that point, right? Any
Yeah, and
sudden
like
movements. Yeah.
I remember, yeah, just being that sleep deprived and like taking the subway back home and just like Erie Tunnel, what's happening?
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I remember the one I was only in New York once, right? And I stayed with a friend in Brooklyn. I think he lived near Flatbush, if I recall right. And I remember we were drunk, and he said, "Well, just take the subway home. I got to go back to work because he's a chef." And like, okay. Well, I passed out on the subway. Ended up in like Coney Island.
Oh my gosh. See, it's funny because I was once like after an all-nighter, I did fall asleep on the subway and also ended up on Coney Island, but I did know how to get back home. If you're there for the first time, I can't imagine getting lost would be even scarier.
Yeah, and it's like it's like 4 in the morning or whatever it is. I don't remember what time it was. It was like after closing times. Like I call him, I'm like, where am I? How do I get home? He's like, just get back on, go the opposite way. I'm like, okay.
But at 4 a.m., it's like even New York City is nice in the sense that there's always a subway running. It's not like in SF, there's the last subway leaves SF at midnight, which is like, what? I'm not used to that.
Yeah, we have same thing in Atlanta. I think it stops at like either midnight or 2 a.m. But
yeah,
our subway.
In New York, you always get a subway, but some of them just change their service throughout the night. So if you're at like 4 a.m. and he's telling you to like take the B back north, then it's like, oh, what if the B is suddenly running express or not running at all?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, our public transportation system here in Atlanta sucks. We have, it's not a subway, it's an elevated train, but it just basically runs north, south, east, west. So it's kind of useless.
That's something, but yeah, that's why you
And
need a car and everywhere except New York.
yeah, I used to, I used to do what you did and ride my bike to work, except for my bike ride. It averaged between 13 and 15 miles one way. So that's why I was doing
That's
it in off season. I'm like, I'm getting a decent workout, getting up to 30 miles in a day,
yeah,
without,
that's a solid ride.
yeah.
Actually, that's kind of that's a tricky ride because do you treat it as a recovery ride? At some point, like, yeah, 30 miles is hard to call a pure recovery ride because it's just the pure amount of time it takes. So do you treat it as a training ride? Well, it's almost a little bit too short to be doing
Yeah.
like intervals and training on the commute.
Yeah. And,
That's
I
kind
used
of a
to do it
tricky
in the
medium.
dark. I used to do it when I'd leave at like 6 a.m. while it was still dark, get there around 7. So it was the easiest way to beat the traffic. And apparently it's the worst time to do a bike commute is the morning like that, because people are rushing to get their kids to school, stuff like that. They're just not paying
Yeah.
attention.
So
Like the
get
guy
in
who hit
before.
me, he was lost.
You
So
got to get in before or after.
before I got hit, I used to do like 4 a.m. rides and actual training rides before in the drive to work.
Wow. So are you like a morning person?
Yeah.
Ah, see, I'm the opposite. I tend to be more of a night person.
You look like it. It's just something about you that says, I don't like mornings.
Yeah, not a fan, to be honest. I'm good waking up early for a race day, but otherwise, easier just to sleep in and stay up late.
Yeah, it's all,
I mean,
it's like
it's
they
I
say,
say that, sorry, but just I guess I've heard as part of like the whole triathlon philosophy and training for it that it's good to have your circadian rhythm aligned with what you'd want for a race. So you'd want to practice waking up at 3 or 4 a.m. so that you're ready to go at
you're the
6
dude who wins
a.m.
races. You tell me what's good.
Well, it seems to be working okay for me. I feel like it still could be better though, because the week before Ironman Arizona, I took as vacation because I finished my project at work and still had some vacation time left. And yeah, I switched over to an earlier rhythm. Friends with whom I was staying in Arizona were also going to bed at 9. So all right, I'll go to bed at 9 too. I have nothing better to do. And yeah, it felt pretty good. So I think you just have to do what feels good to you,
Well, it's
like in
not,
that dimension at least, because it's like we have so many other sources of stress in our lives. Don't stress yourself out about what time you go to bed. Just go when it feels normal. Get your 8 hours or 7, whatever, as long as it's like reasonable quality. Yeah, that's something I can do better with. I'm sure we could all do better with, like getting quality sleep when we're juggling jobs and training and life and all that.
well, that's the
But
thing. You do training out of like, it's out of necessity. It's like, I did everything in the work early because it was working out best for me. It's like, well, I could get in the pool and make sure I got a lane without having to be jammed in or wait for a lane, right? So that's why I always swam early.
yeah,
I did my cycling in the morning because there was no one on the road, and I didn't that means less stopping, less red lights, stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
So it was just more convenient at the time. Given
That's
the
a
choice,
that's a
yeah, I'd
great
do it at noon.
that's a great observation that you do things out of necessity. Like before the pandemic, I swam a lot with the Stanford Masters team, and they had earlier morning practices, so I just learned to get up earlier so that I could swim with them, right? Um, so yeah, I think just my approach, yeah, as you said, out of necessity, but also kind of do what feels good if you're given the option, so that you're not also stressing about unnecessary things like, oh, I can't get to bed early enough today to like get up early enough for some workout. If you don't need to out of some prior obligation, then I don't think it's worth it getting
No,
upset about that.
no,
Get upset about other things.
and it's like the saying goes. It's like, you know, you get used to it, but it's amazing what you can get used to, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm hearing about that now, 4 a.m. bike rides.
I don't know, and you know, for me, it was convenient because,
You're showing me it's possible.
well, my fiance at the time also got up that early, and she did her workouts up on the third floor. She's now ex, but yeah, and you know, we just started our days early. And, you know, the cool thing about if you date someone who either swims, bikes, or runs, you can, like, you get your recovery run in because maybe they're a little bit slower or faster, who knows. But like, it was like social time for us. We got to catch up on our day and stuff like that. So after work, we go
Oh,
for
that's
like,
brilliant.
yeah, it was like,
It's
it's
like,
convenient. It's like, oh, we got to go out for a 4 mile run or whatever. We talk about our day, stuff like that. It was mostly me talking because she can't do two fucking things at once, like run and talk. But you know,
running and talking can be pretty hard.
yeah. I mean, but you know,
Running
it
is
was kind of
hard.
thing decompressed. So that was the nice thing about working that into my work training routine. Is like, oh, this was that was actually happened to be our first date at the time, right? We
Dude,
went
that's
for a
like my
run.
dream first date.
Oh,
That
oh
sounds
my
great.
god, it was the cheapest first date I went on. Like, we went for a run, and then I bought her a coffee afterwards.
Dude,
And like, shirts were optional that day.
sounds freaking great. I'm sorry to
Yeah,
hear that you broke
yeah.
up, or maybe it was for the best.
No, it's not maybe. It things worked out the way they were supposed to, right? So there's always a reason behind it, whether you know it or not. It doesn't matter. So
Yeah, no regrets. That's okay. Glad to hear that, because yeah, that's kind of my approach too. We learn from our mistakes, but it's really no point really, yeah, regretting them, because you can't go back and change it. It is how it had to be.
you know, well, hey man, thanks for talking with me. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I guess we're out of time and we
Well,
should
I don't
get
want
back
to.
to work.
I could talk all day because that's easy, but I just don't want to chew up any more of your time. And I don't know. Are you
No,
going to be close?
thanks. Yeah, I guess time flies. It's been an hour. Should get back to work.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, man, I'm gonna keep tabs on you, and maybe we'll meet each other at one of the races when I start going out West Coast, because you
I
know,
appreciate that. I mean,
I've
yeah,
got.
I should make it out to some East Coast races. I mean, my parents, yeah, they don't approve of what I do, but
I mean, there's worse
you
things
know,
you could be doing that they don't approve of. It's not like you're on the street corner trying to get hooking, you know. Like, oh,
there's
this is, there's worse things in life than that.
there
You
was
know.
worse things, but from their perspective, they're also better. It's like, oh, you could get a second job and make even more money and like buy a house and
No,
you know what?
not
No,
like
I
where
don't want
you
to get
live.
a second
There's no
job.
way you can do that. Like, it's like, you know, I can either date, work another job, do triathlons, pick two, right?
There you go.
But yeah, you know, and I've got, you know, playing credit card roulette. I've got like 200,000 sky miles on Delta, so I'm definitely going to go out to the West Coast to do some racing because Oceanside is just one of those races that everybody always has to do. You know, so that's on my list. You know, maybe Ironman California. I don't know.
Shame that they canceled Santa Rosa. I do think Santa Rosa was more representative of California than like Sacramento. And granted, I haven't even been to like, yeah, all these places in Southern California, so I don't know. But Santa Rosa was absolutely beautiful. It's probably my favorite course I've done.
California as a whole was a test to man's arrogance, right? We're living in all these places that we really shouldn't be inhabiting. You know, like LA exists because we are arrogant and we brought down water. So it's not exactly what it's supposed to be.
It's an interesting that you say that, because I think more, I would say that more like, I don't know, Las Vegas is a testament to arrogance. We're like, and that's some
Well,
freaking
so
harsh.
is Phoenix and all those cities, you know.
California's so beautiful, man. Like it's it's my favorite place on the planet, I think.
Like, do you think
I
you
don't,
should be living near wildfires? I don't think that's a good place. I don't feel sorry if you lose your home, you know?
the
Like, you
wild
should live there.
the wildfires are a complicated matter, because it's hard to say like whether they're entirely natural or man-made. So yeah,
Well,
we're like
probably
causing
the
our own
answer is probably
destruction there.
both.
We're like causing our own destruction with the wildfires. And like past 2 days, dude, I've never seen this in California. We've had smog like in LA, except here in
Really?
Silicon Valley. Like yesterday, I kind of went outside and could taste something off in the air, and I thought it was just like a regular foggy day because sometimes we have fog that rolls in from the coast.
And there's no fires going on.
There's no fires, and I just like checked the air quality maps, and it's all red. It's all as if we had a wildfire, except there aren't any. It's just smog. Like what? I'm not,
And
what
we can
is
have bad air quality here too, but that's because of
where's the
everything's a
smog
car
coming
city.
from?
So, all right,
So
man.
unfortunate. I think California is beautiful. Like Yosemite is such a fantastical place. As I said, I grew up camping a lot in New York City, or not in New York City. Like I went camping in upstate New York.
Catskills?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would spend 2 months each summer camping there. Yeah, and it was beautiful there too. But Yosemite is like another planet. It's just so unique.
You know, after triathlon, you should just kind of take 6 months off and walk the Appalachian Trail.
That's one of my
You
dreams
don't
to
want
do
to pay
that too.
rent, just do that.
No, that's like legit something I wanted to do also kind of my whole life.
I
Like
told
as a,
my
yeah,
brother to do that when he kept getting fired for jobs. I said, look, if you can walk the Appalachian Trail, you get to experience nature, and you don't have to pay rent anywhere.
yeah, yeah, that would be amazing. Have you done it? Have you walked any part of it?
Um, Small part. The ending of it is in North Georgia, so I've been up there. We ride our bikes up in the gaps for to get kind of a lot of mountain training in. So I know where the end of it is. So at the end in Georgia, there is this big tree that is filled full of shoes and boots. That when you reach to the end, you toss them up in there. I've got a picture of
Okay,
it somewhere.
I guess that's symbolic.
And
I don't get
there's a telephone booth there, and it doesn't have a working telephone anymore. But I guess that was where you used to call someone to pick you up.
yes, payphones. I
And
was
there's a
just
little store there too, so it was interesting. But I don't know. I've seen part of it. I remember reading a story about a woman who was on the trail and she died because she got lost. She had wandered off to go take a shit or whatever,
yeah.
and she was only like 50 feet away from the trail, but she got completely lost because it's just one of those things where you got to kind of stick to the trail.
That also happens in like Yosemite. If you go out onto the granite domes, the trail vanishes. There's no trail really. So if you lose your way,
Yosemite is one of those places I want to go to. See the
highly
Dawn Wall.
recommend. Highly recommend. I mean, yeah, visit Santa Rosa as well. Um, the coast is very different and very beautiful out here. And I'll make it out east. Do you have good bike routes out there around Atlanta? Like whenever
Yeah.
I look for a place to live now, because yeah, as I said.
Oh, dude, there are tons of places to go ride in Atlanta. It just, it doesn't even have to be in the city.
Well, it has to be out of the city. Fuck riding in the city.
So, like, you can head north. There are tons of routes. It all depends on where you want to live in the city. Like, if you live in Decatur, then you usually go ride to the east. Or, if you live where I live, you go ride to the northwest out in the Cartersville area, or you go southwest to Silk Sheets. And then, like, in the off season, there's the airport ride. And that's it starts like in the middle of Atlanta, right? You're on road bikes for this one because it's a huge ride and it's a fast ride. Like the Peloton will drop you if you're not in shape.
Oh, okay. Peloton, right?
Yeah. Like, so you got a huge group of riders and it's cool. And there's all kinds of places to ride. You come out here and I've got people who can hang with you too.
That's always good to hear. I need that. I need people to push me. Yeah, just stay away from too many cars. Find those good TT routes where you can just put your head down and you can hammer.
And it's all rolling hills around here. It's mostly rolling hills.
Well, that'll make you good for a course like St. George. You gotta stay arrow going uphill. That's how you win.
That's how you win, man. That's how I die.
You gotta get used to it. Well, it's bloody hard. There I go saying bloody again.
Got you. Now you're gonna notice that every time.
No, I'll get over it. Yeah. If I can offer any advice, yeah, this is also to me. I have to practice just staying really diligent and disciplined in my aero position. Uphill, even if you're going 15 miles an hour, it pays off, and it'll pay off when you're doing a flat race too, because you won't get uncomfortable.
Oh, that's what Gulf Coast is, man. Gulf Coast is just take
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the hardest courses I've done, because I kind of like I also did the half in Oregon this year, and that bike course was probably it was a really great course for me, because yeah, it's flat, but also has like 30 seconds to 2 minute hills where you can stand up and stretch and just like punch up these things. So it breaks up the monotony and the discomfort of staying aero.
Man,
Gulf
you had an
Coast, yeah,
18-minute swim or something at that race. 18, 19 minutes?
that was a farce of a swim. It was
That river shot you down there.
Yeah, I mean, you're not even moving your arms and you're swimming at world record pace. I mean, I guess this is what it feels like to be Caleb Dressel, but it's not great for an Ironman. I think they could do better. At one point, we were actually going through rapids, like freaking waterfalls in the river. Like, come on.
Really? Huh. I didn't know that.
It was wild. Yeah, and the water got so shallow, like ankle deep.
Huh. That sounds like poor planning.
Oh, it was their first time hosting that race, so I'll let it slide. But
I feel like that's like the water depth is something you should know about, though.
I think when they planned it, they were saying that the river had been deeper and they hadn't expected it to go down this much by race day. But yeah, I just feel like they can sort that out better. Looking at the river, it seemed much wider and deeper, just a little bit farther downstream. So I don't know. I don't want to be too critical. I'm happy that they hosted that race, honestly, because yeah, this year everything was like sold out because of people who'd been deferred from last year with the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I actually I struggled to find races earlier this year. I was supposed to do Ironman Lanzarote May, then that got moved to July. Then it got moved. Like, I think it happened, but I was able to move it again. So I was actually left without any races for the first half of the year, and I just signed up for whatever was available. That's how I got into Gulf Coast, and it was Oregon. So,
and the only reason Gulf Coast didn't get deferred is because they held it in December too.
Well, Gulf Coast was in May.
No.
But yeah, but
it didn't get deferred because they were able to hold it the year before.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's why it wasn't sold out. Yeah, so honestly, I'm complaining a little bit about that swim course design in Oregon. I feel like swimming is still a critical part of Ironman, even though a lot of triathletes complain about it.
You can't be a triathlete without it, right?
But otherwise, yeah. Otherwise, I'm happy that it was there at all. Like, so thank you, Salem, for putting that shit on.
Yeah. All right, man. Get back to work. I'll keep in touch and I'll follow you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Great to finally talk with you. Like, I don't know, pseudo in person.
We'll meet sometime in person. I'll have some reason to go race with you or whatever. I usually schedule my races early rather than later.
Yeah, see, I try to schedule mine as late as possible, and I just get shut out of races.
I do that because, one, I'm poor and I get a better price. But
this is true.
I can get better hotel, hotel prices are also cheaper, but I also didn't get shut out of the hotels that are on my loyalty rewards and stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out. I got Oceanside, St. George, and Kona next year. Figure out some other stuff soon. I don't even know if all the races have been announced yet, but I gotta find something to do in the summer.
No, I don't know if anything new's coming out. There's most of the 70.3's registrations open up like 3 months after the event. So,
I mean, I just say that because like Oregon was announced just a few months before it actually happened. So
I would have done that race over Ohio had I known, but I had already signed up for Ohio.
There you go. That's the amateur curse. See, there's another reason to go pro. You can sign up whenever you want.
Yeah. I mean, you
Also,
pay
the
your.
other reason to go pro is that you have your own porta potties.
Well, I forgot that.
Jealous of, so jealous of that. There's all the lines to the porta potties are always so long.
I try to make sure I get my shits in before the race starts, but not always possible.
It's never possible for me. I always have to go. The anxiety, man.
Yeah,
I've
I
done a
get that.
bunch. I mean, yeah, we've both done several, but it's like, do you not get anxious? I still get like super nervous before
I don't know. Usually,
a race.
I mean, for me, it's different. Like, I don't know. I guess it's different for me because like I'm not as fast as you, so it doesn't feel like I don't feel like there's pressure or anything. Like I don't know if you feel like there's pressure. Like,
The pressure comes from within. I just want to like come out and have my best performance, and that's what I get nervous about most. So I admire your zen.
I mean, now that I'm not doing it with half in the bag or hungover, it's just like, all right, I'm there to have fun.
Right. I mean, that's ultimately why we do it. But,
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I get the nerves because I want to feel like I do my best, and I don't know. In a way, I feed off of my own anxiety, so it works out.
Hey man, words to live by.
So yeah, if you like make this into a podcast or whatever, can you send me a link to the final thing when it's ready?
Yeah.
I'll share it on my limited social
How do you say
media.
your last name? Stepinski?
Yeah, I mean, if you want,
I don't want to screw it up when I say it.
If you get all Polish about it, you'd have to actually put like an accent on the E and the N, so it would be Stepinski. But Stepinski is fine. Like, I don't want to make anyone's life more difficult with funny accents.
Actually, I do. I am Polish on my mom's side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm a mix of shit. My grandfather is Polish, and
Cool.
he does the. He's not an immigrant. I think his mom was an immigrant, but he does like the traditional Polish American shit with like the joke. You ever seen the joke where how does a Polish person tie their shoe?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I've seen that specific one, but I'm kind of aware of that kind of joke. I kind of like you could replace it with any nationality. I don't get why it's Polish, but okay.
I've only seen him. He's the one who makes the joke.
I find it kind of endearing.
Where he'll pick his foot up and put it on something and tie the one that's on the ground.
Oh, that's great. No, I love that they like chose Polish people for that. That's like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Included.
And I don't know if like some of the words like that. I swear I don't know if like is Bootsy Mook Polish?
Who?
I don't like. I thought it was Polish for crybaby. Like there's words that he would teach me or something or call me as a kid that kind of just I didn't know where they came from. So I thought they were always Polish, but I never looked it up.
Well, if you look it up, send it to me. I'll let you know.
Gotcha, man. All right, man. Enjoy your day.
Thanks, Eric. You too. Thanks for making the time and chatting. Happy to meet you.
Yeah.
Hear a little bit about your experiences too. You've had some wild triathlons yourself. So,
dude, I want to do one of those extreme triathlons down the road. Those X tries, I've been enticed by them. I talked to a guy earlier in the pandemic who does something like, damn, that just sounds so awesome. And
like the Norse one,
yeah.
or like the See, I'm intrigued by a lot of the more extreme things out there, but just being in that absolutely freezing ass water.
Not all of them are cold though.
Like, so if I find one that's not gonna freeze my ass off, then maybe.
There's the one in Spain, one in Brazil. They're all over the place that can be warmer water.
Oh, so what makes them extreme?
Climbing mountains, temperature changes. Like the one in Brazil, the guy told me it's like I don't remember what the all right, so it's like 5 degrees or 35 degrees Celsius at the swim start, right? But once you get up into the mountains, it could be 5 degrees Celsius.
Oh,
Like,
damn.
you know, that's
Another puzzle to figure
there are
out.
different things about them that make them extreme.
That's another puzzle then. That's interesting. You'd have to figure out how to store not just food, but
And you
also
have to have a
clothing.
race support there with you, right? So
Ah,
they're the one who, you know, it's essentially without them, you have to be self-sustaining, and they have to have your clothes if you're going to put them on there. They have to be able to run
interesting.
with you
So
on the
less of
run
a puzzle
course.
because you have support.
Yeah, but remember, this support, you got to find someone who is willing to take off time from work to go help you off. That also has to fly to whatever country you just went to. That's the hard part, right?
Yeah, that I agree.
So, all right, man. Good seeing you.
Take it easy, Eric. Great to meet you.